really, truly, who knows what's going to happen at 155? All I do know is if somebody gets a dominant win in this fight, their name must be in title discussions. What's up, Barnhill family? Welcome back to the channel.
Yo.
And welcome back to the studio, guys. I'm happy to report Nick is feeling much better. Nick, isn't it good to be back in studio?
Absolutely.
And what a great fight we have to talk about for our first video back in studio. We now know that Islam Makhachev versus RDA is going to happen. It's going to be October 30th, UFC 267 in Abu Dhabi, almost exactly 1 calendar year from when the first fight was scheduled, which was October 24th, 2020. And a lot's changed since then. Namely, Islam is ahead of RDA in the rankings. And RDA said, look, this fight is a title eliminator as far as I'm concerned. Do you agree with that?
I think so. When you have somebody like RDA who's been a champion, been to the top of the sport, he's always one fight away, especially against a top competitor like Islam. So I think that when you're talking about, a very open 55 division right now, and you've got the hottest name in the entire division in Islam talking about a match with a former champion, of course it's a #1 contenders matchup. And there's many people that deserve a title shot at 155, but these two guys are for sure in the running for taking that title shot away from whoever's in front of them, because they do a lot, they have done a lot, and they're willing to fight the hardest fights, which, in my opinion, Islam's the hardest fight in the division right now. And RDA, being a former champion, it also cements himself as one of the most difficult fights in the division.
Yeah, I mean, RDA's the guy that went up to 170, right? He had they were losses, but they were still decision losses against Colby Covington, Kamaru Usman. He was fighting at the top of the heap, fought for an interim belt at 170, had the belt at 155. He's the guy that defeated the Wheaties box guy, the original Wheaties box guy, right, Anthony Showtime Pettis, when he was kind of doing his thing at 155. RDA is a legend of the sport. Islam's the hottest commodity, hottest prospect in the sport right now. So I think the person that comes out of this definitely will be right there in title contention, title discussion. And the funny thing to me is Islam has gone really on a submission spree since the first bout with RDA was canceled. He submitted Drew Dober and then submitted Thiago Moises, both in 2021. And RDA has a split decision victory over the last-minute replacement Paul Felder. What's interesting is RDA's never been submitted. He's got some losses on his record. He's got some miles on him, but never by submission. He's a third-degree Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. I know we talked about Moises being a good black belt, and he is, and he represents the sport well. But is there any way is there any way Islam submits RDA, or do you see this fight going a different way?
Islam seems to be really getting, his finishes under his wings, and if he's able to do what he's been doing to RDA, then we've got a real, submission ace on our hands. And I'm not willing to say Islam can't do anything, because it seemed like in the last part of Khabib's career, he was starting to submit everybody, all the best competitors, when a lot of people would say that Khabib was really good, but he wasn't finishing fights, and then he just started finishing everybody with like crazy submissions. And Islam is obviously on the training mats with him every day, so he's able to learn from Khabib, and some people have said that his submissions might even be a little bit better than Khabib's, and his striking's a little bit better, so he's able to get the fights where he wants it. I don't know. I don't really see a world where RDA is getting submitted in a fight, but I can see him getting overwhelmed on the ground by somebody like Islam. Just, he's smart enough to defend himself intelligently on the ground, but he's not quite able to get off his back from somebody like a Khabib or an Islam. So I might, be a little bit shocked if I see him get submitted, but I also might be a little shocked if I see him just, get taken down and get right back up to his feet.
Yeah, it's going to be a grind to get back up if he gets taken down, which we know Islam's going to shoot for that at some point. I think this fight will take place, more of the fight will take place on the feet than most of Islam's fights, because RDA's grappling is so good. RDA is a guy that likes to strike. He's a guy that's got heavy hands. He's a good boxer, but he does win most of his fights by decision. I think he's got, of the 30 wins, 15 of them are by decision, and then he's got a nice balanced mix of submissions and KO victories. And Islam, I don't think he's going to submit RDA. I think that it's going to be a grind. And so for that reason, I think that you're going to see a little bit more of a kickboxing, boxing match. Clearly, both of these guys are going to get to the ground at some point. I just happen to think it'll be for lesser time than we saw against Drew Dober, or Islam against Drew Dober, and we saw him against Thiago Moises. I think you're going to get some exchanges back and forth on the feet, which I think is going to be a lot of fun. And I think Islam will actually be able to show just how good of a striker he is. We hear a lot of stuff from AKA, and I always love to call it gym rumors, and I love to hear them. I'm a sucker for them. But I think we might get to see some of that elite striking. We saw a little clip of it against Moises, but I think we're going to see more of that in the RDA fight.
Yeah, I think Islam's striking, or what they're saying is like this high level striking, is just freedom. He's just more. He knows he's not in danger when somebody tries to take him down, because nobody's going to try to take Islam down. Because what are you going to get when you wind up on the ground with him? That's exactly where he would rather the fight be.
Wasted energy.
Yeah, so he might as well just throw whatever he can at you, and he can kind of throw caution to the wind, because his opponents aren't going to really, take big chances and take huge risks when it comes to standing with him. RDA, if he's willing to just, throw everything to the wayside and go for a crazy fight and try to finish Islam, that could pay off for him. He seems to have some good power in his hands, but I just don't see his striking being significantly better than Islam's to where he can beat him on the feet. And I don't see him submitting Islam, which means I probably see Islam getting this done in a decision. And if it's a main event, if it's 5 rounds, then it's going to be a 5-round war. If it's 3 rounds, it's going to be a 3-round war.
Yeah, so it'll be on the UFC 267 card. Yeah. So that'll be Teixeira versus Yan. So that's going to be a big... So it'll be a 3-round fight. And actually, there's been some back and forth. RDA saying that Islam's scared of a 5-round fight. That's why it's got to be a 3-round fight. And obviously, Ali Abdelaziz responded and said Islam doesn't care whether it's 3 or 5, but he'd prefer a 3. So, it's some interesting talking points and some back and forth. But I see this... I'm favoring Islam. And I see this going to decision. I mean, listen, Leon Edwards, Colby Covington, and Kamaru Usman could not finish RDA.
Yeah.
So if I'm wrong, and if Islam does finish RDA, you really can't just brush over that like it's nothing. That's something that the best at 170 couldn't do. So that will be immensely impressive if he's able to do that.
Yeah, and I would have loved to see RDA and Khabib, later in their careers, but this is kind of like a 2.0 version of that. So I'd like to see it. I'm an early prediction. I have Islam probably winning this one via decision, but RDA is a world champ for a reason, and he clearly belongs in that top competitor spot, number 1 contender fight, and it would be cool to see RDA get another crack at the 155 title.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, he's the guy who... Anytime you were a former champion and you've been in the spotlight, you've defended your belt against big names, you fought for belts in other weight divisions, you're going to have the experience on your side of those big fights. Islam's coming off his first ever, 2021 marked the year that Islam was a main event fighter. Mm-hmm. So he's kind of newer to this game. RDA is a veteran of the game. And as you said, he's not going to get the 2014 loss to Khabib back, but this is the next best thing for him. And 155 is stacked. We don't know what's happening with Conor. You have Chandler Gaethje out there. If one of those two guys has a breakout performance, obviously you could see them fight the winner of what I thought was going to be Dustin Poirier, Charles Oliveira. Now maybe it looks like Dustin Poirier is looking at Nate Diaz. So really, truly, who knows what's going to happen at 155? All I do know is if somebody gets a dominant win in this fight, their name must be in title discussions.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. If it's Islam Makhachev, then it will likely see him fight for a title at some point next year.
Absolutely. Guys, thanks so much for watching this video. If you've enjoyed the content, a like, comment, and subscribe is always appreciated. And if you listen to audio podcasts, Nick and I are there as well. The Barnhill Brothers podcast. It's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, pretty much anywhere you listen to audio. And if you check us out there and leave us a review, we would most appreciate it. Until the next video, guys, have a wonderful day.
Peace.